bird brains. It is a brand new episode of Bell The Birdmen. I am John Barchard, Vince Quinn, Tyre Hood, Taylor Kredatus, and this beautiful new face and voice. Mr. Trill Bro Dude is along with us, along with plenty of announcements along with that. Trill, how are you, sir? And how is, well, I fell asleep during Brian Johnson's escapade last night. What did you think of the game?
I felt very good coming out of the game. I talked to you guys yesterday, and I said going into that game, I felt more nervous about the defense than the offense, and now I feel the complete opposite. So at least the defense showed us a lot last night. Not that the offense wasn't super effective, but obviously we could get better with certain things in the red zone and stuff like that. So I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited to talk about a team that doesn't make me want to jump off the Ben Franklin Bridge, because I usually talk about the Sixers. So I'm really pumped to be here.
Yeah, the crossover of Josh Harris now folding over into the NFL too. We thought you should have a rightful place right next to us, just hanging out, doing all that stuff. So, Vince Quinn, any fun takes from last night, buddy? By the way.
Well, yeah. I mean, first off, John said he fell asleep in the fourth quarter. He means that. He did fall asleep watching the game. For the people listening, that was, in fact, the reality of the situation. And let's talk about that. Let's start there, shall we? Because, like, here's the thing that's so fascinating to me when I think about this team and where they're going and where we want them to be and all that shit. So there's a drive, end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, where it finally feels like everything's moving, right? Like, Hurts is getting the ball out. It feels like everything's in rhythm. They're going down the field. A.J. Brown's catching a ton of passes on his way to a huge night. And then at the end of that drive, A.J. drops a ball that could have been a touchdown. Hurts trips over himself. They kick a field goal, and it's 25-3 when they could have, like, just completely, utterly blown this game completely out of the water. And that's pretty much where they're at right now, right? It's progress. I'm not going to say they're not better. They're clearly better this week than they were 10 days ago. But it's just that kind of stuff where it's like, all right, I want to see this thing run pretty consistently. And it'd be like if you put me, you know those cars where you have to, like, change the gears? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So it, like, the car starts and stops and, like, all that, like, that's exactly how it feels like right now.
The cars that change gears, so cars?
Yeah. Yep.
Automatic versus manual. Yeah, that's what I figured what we were talking about here.
Yeah, that's it. My dad, who worked at General Motors for 35 years, is really proud of me. So yeah, it's really rubbed off. Thanks, Dad. But yeah, it's what it felt like. It was just it just can't maintain a consistent rhythm yet, but it was clearly better than what they were doing before.
Yeah, see, to me that's pretty expected out of the offense through 3 weeks of, I mean, not this level of, like, weird ring. Can we just get into what's going on with the passing game? Like, what's happening there? Like, it seems like every wide receiver is moving towards one side of the field, and Hurts eventually moves out of the pocket and just goes and finds his guy sometimes. I don't know. It's just, Trill, any thoughts on why you think this offense is just, is it just Brian Johnson?
Well, first off, in classic Philadelphia fashion, we're talking about a team that has trailed for a total of like 3 minutes all season, and we're starting with the negative up top. I
didn't get it out of the way for Tyre, you know?
Damn it, John. I told you no negativity.
All right, so going into last night, like I said, I figured the offense was kind of going to figure itself out. And yardage-wise, between the 20s, beautiful. They can do whatever they want running the ball. The seas have been parted for DeAndre Swift anytime he touches the ball. And by the way, he should 100% be the workhorse back from now on. It's kind of insane that they were even trying to rely on Gainwell at the beginning of the year when we see what Swift was able to do last night when he explodes into those holes and just gets downfield, keeps the chains moving. That was a very productive, beautiful part of the offense. Like you said, the passing game has not been great. Hurts was in rhythm early in the game. He was able to, find AJ early so that there weren't any disagreements on the sideline, let's say. He had a great game last night. Dallas Goedert was actually involved in the offense a little bit. But at the end of the day, like, I know, John, you pointed this out on Twitter. It felt like the routes took forever to develop. It felt like the only reason that Jalen was able to complete passes was because they were giving him so much time in the pocket. He was able to operate from there, find a guy eventually on any given play. But I still feel like this isn't the Jalen Hurts that we saw last year so far. And I love Jalen. This is not slander. And only we're allowed to say this as Eagles fans. If anyone agrees from another fan base, I always tell them no. This is it's like a family member to us.
That's a good rule.
Only we're allowed to say this. But Jalen, like Vince said earlier, every time it felt like they could have went for the kill shot, something happened. There was a miscommunication in the red zone. He throws an interception. There was some inaccuracy after that first drive where he had the play to stall, where he was wide open, missed him. He missed Zacchaeus in the end zone on that first drive as well towards the end. And I think that if some of those things get cleaned up, Jalen cleans up some of those things, that these things that we're worried about with the offense, with the passing game, will kind of go by the wayside. Because if he is just connecting on that first touchdown, if they don't have that miscommunication earlier or on the next drive, I don't really think that we're going to be too worried about the offense. It's really just about executing when they actually get into Tampa Bay's side of the field. In between the 20s, they were getting whatever they wanted pretty much the entire game. What did they end up with, 500 yards? I know a lot of that came in the running game, but this was Jalen's most effective game as far as yardage goes as a passer to start the year. So I'm not concerned as much about the team after last night, only because I trust that Jalen will find his way. I feel like Sirianni and him will work together, whether, obviously the offense, the passing game has not been clean, but if you can rely on that running game so much, we're talking about it going into last night. Everyone talked about was they're not going to be able to run the ball against Tampa Bay. And all they did all night was get 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. If you do that as your identity, obviously you don't want it to be the 2021 offense. You want it to be a little bit more balanced like it was last year. But if you can lead with that, then I think that it will open up things in the passing game.
Yeah, they got to lean on that to start, and then you hope the passing offense gets better and better and better. Because everything that happened in this game, it was this weird thing where Jalen's sitting in the pocket. He's got all the time in the world. The offensive line is absolutely crushing it for the most part. He's got all day, so he's got 5.5 seconds to make the throw. And then he's got to force it 60 yards down the field, and he's getting crushed every time that he's doing it. It was just they're getting things done, but the amount of time that it took to do it was just way too long, and it's not sustainable. So, the running game is great. That's progress. Jalen wasn't running the ball every time. That was major progress, if anything. What were the first 2 weeks? Oh, my God, Jalen's running too much. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're going to kill this guy. And then he ran twice at the end of the first half, and that was at the end of the first half within 2 minutes. They're trying to get down the field. So, that's when he absolutely should be running. So they're doing that right. So in terms of, big picture stuff getting a little bit better, that makes me feel better. First drive of the game, I think it was really early in the game. Slant. Middle of the field, A.J. Brown. Trill, you will learn this. I love slants. They make me happy. I feel warm inside with the slant. It's like this nice prep sweatshirt that I have on. Yeah, prep. Zacchaeus with a touchdown. Swift killing it. They're getting mentions on TV all the time. Let's keep that going. But, yeah, overall, it just felt like Brian Johnson learned a lot over these last couple of weeks. The 10 days was a major difference. They made enough progress in 10 days. And, look, I'm still going to say this. It's the biggest thing about this team. It's all about getting ready for Miami because, holy shit, that's a fucking juggernaut. Yep. So you got a couple of weeks to still do that, and I feel a lot better now than I did a couple of hours ago.
Real quick before you say something. You mentioned Hurts running the ball. Does he look like a half a step slow to anyone to start this season? It's not that he is I don't know if he had a lower body injury or what happened over the offseason, but it just feels like last year he was much more explosive. Obviously, they ran more design runs for him, but anytime it feels like he's in the open field, whether it's by design and he's just trying to be conservative to avoid taking hits or whatever, it just doesn't feel like he really has the same burst that he had last year.
Yeah, I think that's just already from something that happened this season from taking too many hits, and it's just bone bruise or something. Just I don't know if you feel the same way, Tyre, but that was kind of my impression. One of those hits has gotten to him early. Do you think it's more of that, or you think it's just lingering from last year?
I do think he's taken way too many hard hits this year. In particular, I'm thinking about that stupid quarterback draw from Week 1 against the Patriots, where he just got blasted in the ribs and fumbled the football. He's got to stop taking those type of hits. One thing I will say though, that has improved that I saw in the Buccaneers game. It seems like now they recognize what hot routes are on blitzes now, finally. So Jalen doesn't have to stand there for 3 to 4 seconds, get blasted on a blitz, on a corner blitz. So that, for me, is an improvement. And if that's what they have to do to keep him clean, more hot routes. Put a hot route in every damn play call in your playbook if you have to protect that man. Because, yes, it does seem like he is a step slower, and these hits that he's taking is absolutely ridiculous. You've got to protect him. He's not going to last. He's not going to last long this season if he continues to take the type of hits that he's taking.
Well,
What's
Mr.
Cam Newton stuff,
Negativity
right?
Taking over the show real quick.
I mean,
my
it
goodness, you're
is.
telling me not to be negative. Can we talk about that beautiful hit that he did sustain and throw a touchdown pass to Oz, even though everybody was running ridiculous double posts or whatever it was? That to me, if we can get Jalen more of that, where he felt a little comfortable inching up in the pocket and protecting that, man, dude, he is going to be a top 5 quarterback real soon. So, guys, I'm still 3 weeks into this. Trill, you said something that just irks the shit out of me in terms of Nick Sirianni, and it's the same thing that's happened for 3 years. Great in between the 20s, can't do it in the red zone. And if we're going to end up relying on, like, Jake Elliott against the fucking Miami Dolphins, who are doing lateral motion and pretending like it's the Arena Football League with Tyreek Hill, that's the one thing that irks me. Jalen's progress has been beautiful. I think all this shit is kind of expected, but it's not this offense isn't evolving, and I guess that's why I keep getting frustrated with it. You know, the hot routes are great. Everything, Vince Quinn slants, you're seeing more of those, but like you're just not seeing it transform. Like this is what I said, I think on the last show, it's kind of what got Doug fired. You can't just rely on the same things over and over again. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there was a point a couple of years ago, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, where Uber had this big invention, and they were like, listen, guys, we're going to get this massive vehicle that can go around town, and it can take like 30 people at a time from place to place. And it was like, listen, you invented a bus, you fucking idiots. You invented a bus. And like, that's what this is. Brian Johnson is to reinvent the offense that has currently existed for the past year that we've become accustomed to. He just doesn't know how to do it yet. He doesn't understand how it fully feels like in game and the rhythm and to read all his guys and the matchups. And he's overwhelmed a little bit. I mean, I get it's the first time as an offensive coordinator. It's going to be hard. It's a lot to take in, and he's got all the pressure in the world to do it. So, you know, it's just that, like, okay, some of those things are getting integrated into the playbook, and a lot of that stuff with A.J. Brown, what was it? Comeback routes, hook routes, things like that. Those were huge for him last year because he gets some movement, and it gives him a little bit of space against the defender, and then he can take it down the sideline for another, like, 10 yards. He's really good at that. So those kinds of things, like, you're looking for staples now, and they're showing some signs of understanding what staples are, and again, that's why I'm just feeling so much better this week.
Wait a minute. I also, if I remember correctly, I saw a successful screen last night's game. Oh my God. When's the last time we've seen a successful screen in the last couple of years?
Look at that.
I think has a lot to do with what Trill was talking about with DeAndre Swift. It's just, he's just so fucking good, man. I don't know what Detroit was thinking. I really don't. Probably not good things. I mean, God bless Sam Laporta and all that. Go ahead, Trill.
Well, as Patrick PMC pointed out on Twitter last night, the Detroit Lions set up the Eagles very nicely this season by not only trading back and passing on Jalen Carter in the draft, but also using that pick to draft Jahmyr Gibbs, which made DeAndre Swift expendable, and then he was traded for pennies to the Eagles, as Howie has seemed to do every single offseason with these teams that seemingly don't really know what they're doing. But thank you, Detroit. I think if we want to look at a positive from last night, Jalen Carter is a monster.
Holy shit, yes.
He is. It was funny because at one point on the broadcast, Joe Buck was like, he is a future star. And I was like, future? I mean, he's playing half of the snaps, and the only player in the NFL, I believe PFF said, that has more pressures than him this season is Javon Hargrave, the guy that he replaced. And by the way, Hargrave's playing way more snaps than Jalen Carter to start his career. So, I think that what we can take from last night, regardless of whatever issues that we have with the offense is that that interior of the defensive line with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter is going to be a problem for the next 5 to 10 years for opposing offenses.
We've got 14 games to go. We're at a sack and a half, and I feel like those snaps are just going to keep ramping up. So I do think 11 or 12 is possible with Jalen Carter, just based on how he's played so far. It is unreal how good that kid is. Next, I mean, like he made Fletcher Cox look young last night. He made everybody just around him better. Jordan Davis and him haven't even gotten started yet, and it's just like they're getting there. By the way, did anybody notice that Kobe Dean was not there last night? I just wanted to point that out with the safety, and the linebacker play was pretty good. But outside of that,
what you trying to say, John? What you trying to say?
I'm nothing. I hope he's doing great with his recovery time. And Jalen Carter is just going to continue to be Aaron Donald, man. I mean, I don't even know why. Every player said it before the preseason. You're seeing it now. I think it's, like you said, it's very comfortable, Trill, to just call this dude a star. And I don't even know what's next. Like the secondary was chopped cheese last night, and you barely noticed it. Granted, it was Baker Mayfield, but pretty good wide receivers there too. So I think that's how much impact they have there, Vince. It's pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, the collection of defensive tackles is the best unit I've ever seen in my life. I mean, like I've never seen them have a group of guys in a town that's obsessed with defensive linemen and defensive line play in general. Never seen it this good. Fletcher Cox looks amazing. This is a legacy year for him. I mean, you talk about a guy that 2 years ago we were like, they fucking hate this guy. Look at all the negative stories. They want to trade him to Cleveland. We talked about that constantly. It was really bad for him. And then they draft Jordan Davis. They draft Jalen Carter. He's playing his ass off. The guy's what, like 34 years old? He looks amazing. So good for him. Good for the team. Yeah, Jalen Carter's great. He's blowing everything up. Jordan Davis, his ability to disengage on a guy and just like snatch anybody that's coming past him is wild. And it feels like on some level, you remember years ago, there was this point where with the San Diego Chargers, they had LT, Darren Sproles, and Michael Turner on the same team. And all three of those guys, when you look at their careers, they were like all pro players at one point or another, just completely crazy in their own way, all great starters on teams in different ways. And you look back and go like, holy shit, that was one of the most talented backfields of all time. And I think this group of defensive tackles is that kind of tier. I mean, it is legitimately crazy. It's so much fun to watch. It's how football's built these days, interior pass rush. And you know, for all the stuff, we talked about this a little bit off the air, but Hassan Reddick should be thanking these guys because he has not been a factor yet. And they are totally covering for him right now.
That thumb surgery, baby.
Yeah.
And by the way, leave it to Vince Quinn to find 3 spectacular running backs to try and make his point be known. It's just I love it. Not too many people pull out Michael Turner, so I just
Turner the Burner, baby. Turner the Burner. We love Turner the Burner.
Well, I've been saying I think that this Eagles team, especially for the first few weeks here, is really like catnip for boomers like my dad, who have been saying since the 90s, stop the run the ball, and you're going to win football games. And Jalen Hurts has now won 20 of his last 21 games. If it weren't for Quez Watkins, it would have been 21 in a row. So the formula, even though everyone's, acting like they're 0-3, they've barely trailed all season, the formula that they've been doing has been working. So I'm not complaining.
I tell you what though, Trill, I can get along with your dad just fine, because that's the type of football that I like. And John, I'm coming after you, especially when it comes to the defense. All our conversations that we had over the summer about how defenses don't matter and linebackers don't matter. Linebackers was crazy.
Who said defense doesn't? Whoa! Who said defense doesn't matter? I said linebackers don't matter.
It's that famous saying, defense doesn't matter. Not defense wins championships. Defense doesn't matter.
That's right.
And the fact that linebackers created that safety last night, John. Linebackers.
Listen, yeah. I'm in awe of and by the way, count me in the boomer pool too, because it's Kelly Green. I mean, who can't not enjoy that little catnip that's there? But yeah, I'm there's nothing wrong with winning this way. I'm like, everybody's going, oh, this is bullshit. The passing game isn't working. I don't care. If DeAndre Swift ends up being better than Shady McCoy and it just is that way for a year, great. This is one of the best offensive lines. Use it. Most of this shit I complain about is versus the Bills versus how are you going to play this in the Super Bowl? And it's week 3. So that's why people get mad about it. And you should. You should enjoy this win as much as you fucking can because it's you embarrassed Baker Mayfield. That was always fun. Like, he came out purposely with the Barber jersey. And by the way, it was like taped onto the back and it looked terrible. So he must have picked it up at a thrift store and like not an authentic one. What the fuck, buddy? Like, you knew the game was over as soon as you wore that. So I believe they're 2 for 2 in halftime retirement ceremonies. So John, I'm feeling good.
What are you trying to say that when we face an elite defense, like let's just say hypothetically the 49ers, they won't be able to, run the ball at will and score a ton of points. Oh, wait, what was the score of the NFC Championship? Oh, sorry. How did Jalen play in that game, throwing-wise?
Oh, real bad. Yeah, not so good.
Not great.
Basically ran the counter with Miles Sanders, and now you can do that with DeAndre Swift.
Exactly.
Who's like 500 times better. So I hope you're all enjoying the Brock Purdy juice, and we'll see you in December. I don't know. Any other takeaways from last night, Vince? I didn't have too many, obviously, because I fell asleep on the couch. But I just thought it was a good win. It was a good win, and the offensive complaints are basically the same for me.
Yeah, for me, I mean, like, it's the same thing that I've been saying since the moment they signed this guy. Penny sucks, okay? This is not good. They do not want to play this guy. They can't stand him. So, like, not only how bad is Rashad Penny, apparently, but how bad is Trey Sermon, too? That he couldn't make the roster over Penny. And, like, that's one of those things that they're missing. It's late in the game. You have to pound the ball with Gainwell to close it out? That's your guy? I just like that they don't have that power element. They had a 4th and 2 that got stopped. That's a totally built for Rashad Penny play, and he was sitting on the sideline. So they're going to have to figure out power back because they just flat out don't believe Penny's a guy at all right now. And until that gets fixed, that's one of the issues. But
I still don't think that's it. I think the Eagles are just playing this way too conservatively with the running back room because Boston Scott got a concussion. Trey Sermon got signed. Who else got? Oh, yeah, somebody else got dinged up, didn't they?
Well, Gainwell and Scott were hurt last week, and it took Swift calling off the field to get Penny in the game. So
yeah, I think for some dumb reason, just like they ran out Kenny Gainwell, they're saving Penny for a certain week or time or wherever it is, and they're trying to do this NBA style
load management.
Load management.
Seriously,
with
no,
running
I think
backs.
you're right. I think you're right because look at the history of Swift and Penny in their careers. They're great for a handful of games when they're able to play and they're healthy, and then they get injured and they either can't play or they're not quite the same. And I mean, look, there have been worse things in the world than having Rashad Penny as your 3rd or 4th running back option. We have 2 guys that even though Gainwell, the coaching staff, I don't really understand the full obsession with him. I think Swift has made it very obvious that he is the best back that they have. But still, he's your second back. He's your change of pace back. Now we can establish the pecking order is Swift with Gainwell, and then Boston Scott, when he's healthy, we have him for the 2 Giants games. And then the rest of the year, we can load manage him. And then we have Penny as, like you said, he might stink, but how many 4th running backs in the NFL are really great? And behind this offensive line, I think that Vince Quinn could go out there and get 55 yards. So.
Well, sign me. I'll bulk up. I'll bulk up and fall forward if that's what you need. I don't give a shit. Like, let's go.
Not only that, but if you look at how they utilized DeAndre Swift in week 1 against the Patriots, I mean, the man only touched the ball, twice? And Kenny Gainwell got most of the carries, and then Gainwell goes down with the injury week 2 against the Vikings, and that's when we saw DeAndre Swift's greatness. I mean, that's not a far-fetched thing to think about that they're saving Penny for a certain week.
Yeah, and whatever's going to happen at the trade deadline, because, man, I just people are starting to hype that up, and I know that always happens, but when people start hyping up the trade deadline like week 2, I feel like there's some moves to be made there, not some booze to be made. Was that what's coming out
some of that? I mean, hey, don't rob me of a good time.
Yeah,
they love the slop, John. We love the slop, baby.
We do love the slop.
We're bringing it to the NFL.
In fact, we love the slop so much that is a big reason why Trill is here. Not only to talk birds with us pretty much every Tuesday, but me and Vince Quinn and Taylor Kredatus made Bell and the Birdmen for someone to fucking take this thing over because as a company that we formed, we have finally hit a part where like we really do want to be more behind the scenes. So our big announcement for the post-game pod is that True Bro Dude is bringing Birds to this feed sometime by the end of this month. We haven't hit an exact date, but we have been such a fan of Ball. Trill and I have talked endlessly about a lot of different stuff, just like with the content universe in general. But we just really believe that he is so special in terms of like his own thing and bringing his own community. And he makes me fucking laugh like every 5 seconds. So I couldn't think, and we couldn't think of another person to take over this feed. And Trill, we're so excited for this, man. Birds is going to be fucking amazing, and I can't believe that like this is actually happening. And welcome, my friend. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate your guys' support and everything. Obviously, been a big fan of you guys since you launched a few years ago when came out to some of the live shows and we riffed. And ever since, I've wanted to kind of do my own thing with football. So this will give me the opportunity to expand the YKB universe, Birds. It was really poetic because John texted me the name, and the day before I had thought Birds would work perfectly. So that just shows you that this marriage is going to be great. So yeah, really excited to do some kind of crazier, zanier stuff on the feed, and just have some fun with it. That's the big thing about Ball. We've always just tried to have fun with the podcast. We don't really go in with a script. We just riff. We try to, work with the community, talk about what they want to talk about. And with the NBA and the Sixers in general, we focus, like I said, on the slop, everything that happens around. And the latest NFL slop, obviously, we have some stuff going on with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. So I'm sure that we'll talk about stuff like that. That's more fun as well. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity. I'm really, really excited to come on every Tuesday and really, take this thing up a level.
Yeah, man, we're pumped. Vince, go ahead, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, and just to follow up so everybody fully understands what's going on here. I mean, for me and John, what that means is you're not going to hear us every week. That doesn't mean we're gone. That doesn't mean we're going away. We're still going to be around.
Actually, you're not allowed back on the podcast. I've decided. I haven't told
Trill's
you yet.
sweet talking us, and then he's going to put a bag over our heads and shoot us in a ditch in the Pine Barrens. So yeah, maybe this is it. Goodbye. Tell my fiance I love her. But yeah, we're going to be around. We're building this still. It's still a big project for everybody. We're working together, but especially for me and John, we have been running around so much. You've heard it over the years with us. We have a production company. We're running other shows. We're doing a lot of big picture space brain shit because just you see ESPN and all the job cuts and things that go on there, all the big networks, all the different problems that they have. Everything's local. Everything's great community, which is why, again, we love Trill. Everything's been community. The way he's built it, it's so authentic. It's so fun. So we're just here to support that now. And we hope you guys that, if you don't know Trill, you give him a fair shot. You come along for the ride with us because we'll be around helping him on things. We'll pop up from time to time as he wants us to come through. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little different, but we're keeping everything. It's all just going to be converted over to Birds, and we're going to build this up. So get excited. We certainly are. We're really pumped.
Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Trill, but was there anything NFL related that caught your eye over the weekend that you were kind of like, what the fuck was that all about? Because one of the things that it's hilarious to me that we have shit on Jonathan Gannon constantly for an off season, and he ends up beating the fucking bricks off the Dallas Cowboys. All right. Secondly, Jim Schwartz has the #1 ranked defense in the NFL yet again for the Cleveland Browns. And what the fuck? It's just like we never get
DC
it right.
Factory,
ever.
not a QB Factory, DC Factory.
DC Factory, yeah.
I mean, look, and the thing about the Cardinals is that they've competed in every single one of these games. At a certain point, we thought that they were just losing these games because they were tanking, but obviously they took this Cowboys game personally, and I expected them to collapse in the second half. The biggest thing that I took from this past weekend, obviously there was a ton of stuff that happened. The Dolphins destroyed the Broncos. That was something that we talked about earlier, a game that we're not looking forward to on the Eagles schedule. But my thing all season has been, how long are the Jets going to keep doing this Zach Wilson? I've never seen a worse quarterback in the NFL that has just gotten a year and a half worth of starts, and somehow they won 7 games with this guy at quarterback last year. We were joking off the air. Oh, people were laughing at them for the Matt Ryan. Oh, reaching out to Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. I was like, any one of these guys, Colt McCoy, whoever is available, would be better than Zach Wilson. And they would win 10 games. If they had traded for Josh Dobbs 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago when Aaron Rodgers, they're winning 9 or 10 games with that defense, with their skill players. And I just think it's hilarious that football guys, especially a guy like Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, former Eagles front office guy, can be so stubborn when it comes to something like that. And I think that I just think that it's insane that you're in a major New York market. You have an opportunity here with a team that's very talented to win, potentially 9 or 10 games, make the playoffs, and you're choosing to ride or die with the 55th best quarterback in the NFL. Like, if we were to rank backups, we could name 20 backups who are better than Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it's crazy because, and the same thing is, because Stugatz from Le Batard has this thing and has always had this thing with Kyle Shanahan, and I've had the same thing with Joe Douglas. Like, make a fucking move, smart guy. If you are this well respected amongst the league, where Baltimore groomed you, you had to steal this guy away from Chicago to get him into Philadelphia. He helped contribute the Eagles to win a Super Bowl, and then he goes to the Jets and fucking holds on to a bunch of picks and doesn't pick a quarterback. And when he does, he's terrible. So I don't get Joe Douglas. I don't get why people like him. And maybe it's just the Jets, Vince Quinn, and they're cursed for life. But good Christ, pick somebody, anybody. Russell Wilson, trade for Russell Wilson.
There we go.
Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson 2.0.
Oh, shit.
I love it. There we go. That fires me up a little bit. Honestly, what is Davis Mills doing? Get that guy out of Houston. Whatever. Yeah, anybody. Because Zach
Tanner
Wilson.
McKee.
Sure. He's worth the first.
Kidding. Obviously,
he's worth the first.
Yeah.
But whatever they could do. I mean, it's crazy because they're giving so much support that it's sad for him. Really, it's it's a complete emperor wears no clothes situation where everybody's like, oh, he's standing there for 8 seconds and falling over himself to get sacked for the 8th time. This is great. And it doesn't make any sense. So when the guy blatantly can't play football, they don't even lean into his best skill set, which is he needs to use his legs and run forward, not backwards like he loves doing, run backwards 25 yards and then throwing it out of bounds. They can't even use the guy for as bad as he is. So it doesn't make any sense to me on any level. I have no idea what they're doing, and maybe they just don't have an answer. Maybe they just don't have they just never considered this, which is crazy that they never considered this, and they have no idea what to do right now.
Yeah.
Well,
but
the Minnesota Vikings are 0-3, and they have an expiring. If this were the NBA, I know I'm an NBA guy first here. If this were the NBA, Kirk Cousins would already be on his way to New York. He's an expiring contract. By the way, I don't know if you know this. I was explained by a cap nerd earlier, and I didn't even know NFL cap nerds existed until this morning. So that's great.
Buddy.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea.
Oh, I'm very excited to dive into the world of that. But apparently, with the dead years that Kirk Cousins currently has on the end of his contract after this season, they won't even be able to do the Howie let's get a comp pick for Kirk Cousins if he leaves in free agency. So if the Vikings don't trade Kirk Cousins and really, as we talked about, lean into the tank and try to get a Caleb Williams in the next draft to pair with Justin Jefferson, who's, if not the best wide receiver, the second best wide receiver in the NFL for the next 5 to 10 years, and you have a golden opportunity with the Jets who should give up real value to get him, I just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and by the way, Cousins and Jefferson both leading the league in yards. So that shows
Your
you how
favorite
much
stat?
they matter.com. And I'm surprised they wouldn't pair the first or second round pick that that they still have from the Aaron Rodgers trade and just for the year, you might as well do it. Because what else are you going to do? Aaron Rodgers is going to come back off an Achilles injury next year, and you're going to cross your fingers and do that again?
Well, he's
My
coming back
goodness.
in January when they win 4 games with Zach Wilson.
Oh, right.
Well, guys, on the entertainment side of sports, I did hear a rumor that Carson Wentz reached out to the New York Jets for his services.
And and they laughed at him, right, Ty?
What? Why
Right.
not? Why not? Okay, so we have Zach Wilson, who, by the way, do you know what his PFF ratings have been the last 2 years? Now, look, I only use PFF when it pushes the agenda, but
Yeah.
but he's the only quarterback I've ever seen in back-to-back seasons have below a 50 rating on PFF. He has like a 46 and a 47. Carson Wentz has as you know, as insane as he can be in the locker room, as much as we've made fun of him and I've been the, you know, kind of the ringleader of that on Twitter, he's a much better NFL quarterback than Zach Wilson. If anything, he's like Zach Wilson plus. He's going to give you at least a little bit of something when, hopefully when a play breaks down, you don't really trust Carson Wentz, but certainly you trust him more than Zach Wilson. I mean, this is a guy that even at his worst is going to be a below average quarterback instead of the 50th best quarterback in the NFL. He's a fringe starter quarterback. There's no way he's worse than Zach Wilson.
He is in this regard because Joe Douglas overheard Carson Wentz in the locker room at one point say,
True.
"Man, I wish I was out there winning the Super Bowl in 2017." So
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm pretty sure that's why Joe Douglas is saying, "Fuck that guy."
Fair.
Yeah, that Wells poison.
That's a good point.
But otherwise, I agree. Like it's we just said, like, if Shane Steichen is winning with fucking Gardner Minshew with the Colts, you can find somebody to play quarterback relatively easily with the Jets. So,
And they have an offensive genius in Nathaniel Hackett, so it works out.
yes.
All the more
all
reason to
of the-
trade for
all-
Russ. Let's
Yeah,
reunite
exactly.
Russ
That's
and
what I'm saying.
Nathaniel Hackett.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, and then you also have the corpses of all of Aaron Rodgers' old weapons in Green Bay, which I'm sure will work out great for whoever the next quarterback is.
Yes. Fellas, anything else catch our eye from the NFL weekend? It's just honestly, all the games sucked. That was my other
It was
take.
kind of
just
a
like
kind of a
so
bad, yeah. It was kind of a bad week. A lot of blowouts. I mean, the weather certainly didn't help in like the Jets game. You know, there was a lot of craziness on the East Coast, but just a little bit Eagles related here. If we can go back to that, Vince Quinn. Once again, as I said, I only use PFF numbers for my agenda here, but who has a higher PFF rating this year, Reed Blankenship or Kyle Hamilton?
Oh, no. Don't tell me he's beaten up. No, it's got to be Kyle. Kyle had 3 sacks on Sunday.
Reed Blankenship has a higher PFF rating than Kyle Hamilton. Keep in mind, PFF, from what I've been told, PFF does not take like context and role into account in the same way that if you're watching a game, you could say, oh, that guy's like the captain of the defense. Even if it's not showing up in the film, he obviously has a lot more going on behind the scenes. I'm sure that's the case for Kyle Hamilton, but for the agenda, both Jordan Davis and Reed Blankenship both are in the high 80s. Jordan Davis has an 89.8 right now, and Kyle Hamilton currently has a 78.6. So I just want to say, Reed Blankenship found off the scrap heap. If you talk about the trade deadline, possibly Jeremy Chin available at the trade deadline.
Ooh.
Just
Speaking
saying.
of people that wanted over Jalen Hurts, you can have them both now, everybody. Look at that. It all comes fucking full circle. And I would love nothing. See, that's eat it, buddy. Eat it. That's
No,
all.
Kyle
Reed
Hamilton
Blankenship
has
played out of his
double
fucking
Jordan
mind last
Davis's
night.
career sacks. Okay, you eat it, and he got that in one game. He got double Jordan Davis's career sacks in one game.
Year 2 and year 3 nose tackles. That's when they pop.
Yep, and they don't lose to the Colts 22-19. Okay,
The Gardner Minshew.
in overtime. My goodness.
Yeah.
All right, let's get
Trill,
Hamilton to play quarterback.
Trill, we are thrilled. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode and beyond. We're very excited for the future of the feed. For Vince Quinn, for Taylor Kredatus, for Tyre Hood, I'm John Barchard. This has been Bell and the Birdmen for one of the last few times as we switch into birds. And we'll see you real soon, guys. Okay, bye.
Go Birds.